Who is the best blue mage in Final Fantasy? The blue mage is one of the most unique classes in Final Fantasy, able to use enemy skills to cause unique effects. But most blue mages in the series use blue magic as a secondary ability. However, there is one they-them mayhem who truly eats. They leave no crumbs behind, and they show the true potential of blue magic. But why? Why is this savory side character the best blue mage? Well, to answer that question, let's take a look at this class through the ages, starting with the primordial cerulean sorcerer, the blue mage class from Final Fantasy III. The blue mage class from Final Fantasy V. Now, most mages in this game have a very limited weapon selection, but the blue mages in Final Fantasy V can equip swords. And like all other classes in Final Fantasy V, they can get an extra ability slot in which they can put any other class's ability. Given their focus, I think that would generally be another magic skill, but it could be anything you want, I guess. But the blue mage in this game has an inherent problem. In order to gain the ability to learn blue magic, the blue mage class has to gain a job level to equip the learn ability, which I honestly think is just weird. It's literally the core ability of their kit, so why isn't this available right away? Fortunately though, that's small potatoes, because it's not going to take you very long to learn that one job level. And more importantly, the blue mage's magic itself provides some unique effects. In terms of support, the blue mage can cast Mighty Guard, a staple of the class throughout the series. This spell casts Protect, Shell, and Float on the party, albeit at a high MP cost. And the White Wind spell, which I call Caucasian Breeze, restores health equal to a caster's current HP. And that's amazing, because my personal Caucasian Breeze definitely has more of a destructive effect. And one of my personal favorites, although it has limited utility, is Moon Flute. This casts Berserk on the entire party. And while this can be useful to increase physical damage, you completely lose control of your party. So in a battle where you need to heal, meh. But offensively, they do have some cool options. First, the blue mage class can learn all 3 wind spells, and if you want to use them instead of a black mage, this can be really nice, because as long as an enemy doesn't resist wind, you can do powerful neutral damage to just about everything. But even better, if an enemy's level is a multiple of 3, level 3 flare will deal big PP damage to them, and there are plenty of enemies susceptible to it, including many bosses. Level 5 death is similarly useful, even allowing quick kill of some bosses. Bigger problems arise though when you compare them to other classes in the game. Why waste time using a blue mage when you can simply use a black mage to use stronger magic and potentially hit enemy weaknesses more effectively? Or a monk to deal stronger physical damage? By being a jack of all trades, Final Fantasy V's blue mage is a master of none. But Final Fantasy VI changed the game. And most people, that's you, probably think that there's only one blue mage in this game. And I disagree, kind of. Because technically, there are 2. One obvious one, Strago, and a second one, but I'll come back to that in just a sec. And I guess technically you can have a third one, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just talk about Strago first, because Strago is your more traditional blue mage. By literally seeing blue magic, Strago can learn it. And I mean see, because side note, the blind status is bugged in the original game and has no effect on hit rate. But if Strago is blinded, his ability to learn new blue magic is completely disabled. Oh, and I guess it's called lore in that game, but whatever, that doesn't matter, it's still blue magic. And some of that blue magic is incredibly useful. He starts off with the Aqua Breath ability. This is hugely helpful in fending off the initial monsters he encounters. And he too gets access to support spells like Mighty Guard and Caucasian Breeze. Yes, I'm going to call it that for the rest of the video, but Final Fantasy VI gives Strago some tools that blow the blue mages from Final Fantasy V out of the water. He gets the spell level Holy or level Pearl, depending on the version you're playing. This casts the Holy spell on all enemies with a level that is a multiple of the last digit of your gil. So if the last digit of the party's gil is 0 or 1, this spell will automatically hit all enemies. Manipulating it can be a bit dicey, but it can be a quick wipeout for any enemies vulnerable to holy damage. And it is in this installment that Halitosis becomes a weapon of mass destruction. The Bad Breath attack, which inflicts every status effect, first becomes available for use in this game. This skill inflicts multiple deleterious status effects on all enemies, which can be quite disabling. And as I alluded to, there is technically another person who can use enemy skills in this game, Realm. Now, whether she's actually a blue mage is definitely up for debate. She can use her sketch ability to draw an enemy and use that enemy's abilities. However, the fact that she can only use the enemy's abilities that she's up against is pretty inflexible and limiting, and therefore her blue magic is far less less useful than Strago's. And I forgot to mention, Gogo can just copy Realm's and Strago's abilities. And while that's cool, they technically don't have any innate blue magic abilities. They're a mime, so I don't really consider them to be a blue mage, but they can use blue magic. But there is an overall problem with the blue mages in this game. In Final Fantasy VI, characters can equip espers to learn magic, and once that magic is learned, they can use it at any time. And this includes the incredibly powerful Ultima and Holy spells, as well as the most powerful spell in the entire game, the subscribe button, which you should... That's so stupid. I can't. No, but really, you should subscribe. I have an entire playlist of Final Fantasy content just like this. And if you can swing it, consider becoming a channel member, one of the Tantacles, for early access to my videos. Click the join button below to do that thing. Thank you, current channel members. I really appreciate you. Anyway, this inherent flexibility makes blue magic a whole lot less useful, barring very specific circumstances, particularly on bosses.
It's not bad, it's just not good.
Because if you want to have the best chance of killing a boss, you're going to want to use the strongest and most consistent spells possible, both offensive and supportive. And while that means that Strago, and everyone else in the game for that matter, can become an amazing unit, I don't think that they're technically an amazing blue mage. Strago and the other blue mages are just amazing at equipping dead animals to themselves and absorbing their strength. And speaking of animals, I forgot to write about Gao when I was initially crafting this script.
My God, there's room for everybody. Let's just say that.
Gao's entire identity is built around his ability to use enemy skills. He essentially transforms into an enemy and uses their entire repertoire of skills using his rage ability. In the original Final Fantasy VI, he can become hugely powerful with a glitch involving the Stray Cat Rage and a Wind Knife. That being said, he too is often better off just learning and using magic from espers. And Final Fantasy VII has largely the same problem. Materia like espers can be equipped to anyone and grant them powerful abilities. But despite that, I consider blue magic to be far more useful in Final Fantasy VII. And by blue magic, I of course mean the enemy skill materia. The enemy skills you can acquire in this game are clearly more useful than those from Final Fantasy VI, and not because the skills themselves are inherently better, it's just because of timing. Because in the front half of the game, there are very few ways to do big damage to a group of enemies. Sure, you can equip the all materia to make your magic hit all enemies a few times, but this pales in comparison to using the Trine spell to deal lightning damage to all enemies, or even better, the Midgar Zolem's beta spell to deal huge fire damage to all enemies. But unfortunately, this game took a step back in terms of acquisition. They once again made it harder to get certain types of blue magic. Rather than learning a blue magic by seeing it, the skill has to actually be cast on you, and you have to survive it, which is fine if it's a weaker offensive spell. But things get tough for the beta spell that I mentioned before, because at the time it initially becomes available, it's capable of wrecking your entire party when an enemy casts it on you. It's still possible to acquire it by manipulating MIDI-Z into booting one of your characters out of the battle, but there's a lot more chance involved. And things also get tough if the spell you want to learn is a defensive spell. To acquire a spell like Caucasian Breeze, for example, you have to use the Manipulate materia to gain control of a Zemzalet and force the Zemzalet to cast it on your team. I mean, it's like if I wanted to learn how to wipe my butt, I'd have to hypnotize one of my friends and get them to wipe my butt for me, and then I'd magically know how. Make it make sense. And also, if anyone knows what this is, please let me know in the comments. And the bigger problem, which for once in my life is not referring to my attitude, is that there are so many powerful spells in this game that require nothing but finding the materia for them and equipping them. Now, granted, the versatility of the enemy skill materia is nice, but the burden of actually learning each skill can be pretty gosh darn annoying, and I wish it were more straightforward. Why should I need to use a second materia to learn an enemy skill? I would rather just equip a materia that already has a powerful skill and go to town. Learning skills gets a little bit easier though in Final Fantasy VIII, because Quistis can learn every single blue magic in the game by just using items, and most of these items can be acquired by playing cards. But, and it's a big but, what's really interesting about Quistis is that her blue magic isn't readily available to her. It's her limit break. So in order to use it, you have to do one of two things. Use the Aura spell spell, which is quite rare but is technically obtainable pretty early, also through the card game, or you can just let Quistis sit at low health and then she can just use it. And Quistis does have some useful blue magic, but in terms of limit breaks, I would not say she has one of the best ones. If I were to choose a limit break to abuse, it would be Renoa's Angel Wing. This does massive magical damage. Or Squall's Renzozuken. And while Squall's limit break requires farming materials for his best weapon, Renoa just literally gets hers as part of the story. And by the way, I talked about her in a video about the best black mages, and I'll link that video in the Discridly-do for all of you disgusting and greedy binge watchers.
It's called binge viewing. Go ahead. I support you.
And okay, to be fair, Quistis also has Bad Breath and Caucasian Breeze, yay. But even bigger deal, she also has the extremely valuable Degenerator spell. This spell can kill certain enemies in one hit, including the annoying Oil Boils boss. It can also kill the enemies on the isle closest to Heaven and Hell, which are automatically at level 100 and are kind of awful to face. But still, on any boss except Oil Boils, I typically rather use something other than blue magic. A spell that does more damage, a different limit break that can just kill an enemy in one hit, a GF ability that can cure or revive to full without penalty, literally anything else. But, and it's an even bigger but, what if you had blue magic that was even more useful than Quistis's and was more accessible? Well, let's skip over Final Fantasy IX and head to Final Fantasy X. Here we have Kimahri, who is definitely not going to be like that. But okay. What I love about Kimahri is that at least he can gain the blue magic easily. If he just uses Lancet on an enemy, he gets their blue magic. But once again, blue magic is his overdrive, which is Final Fantasy X's version of a limit break, which limits its utility. I will say, though, that I love his self-destruct skill. I mean, not in a normal game. Hell, it's totally useless if you're playing the game casually. But when I beat the game without using the sphere grid, and I will, as always, link that video in the Discridly-do, Kimahri could self-destruct and deal 3,000 damage, which is a lot considering his base stats are in the garbage. But if you're playing casually, you're probably better off turning Kimahri into a thief or black mage and just ignoring his limit break altogether. Every character in Final Fantasy X can do everything outside of summoning and using each other's overdrive. So while Kimahri is a terrible blue mage, he's still a great character if you give him every tool available to him. But that begs the question, what does it actually mean to be a good blue mage? Because I know I've been edging you this whole time and you've been loving it, you dirty Quina. Final Fantasy IX's Quina just does it better. Quina is a chef, and in order to obtain blue magic, Quina eats their enemy. The enemy has to be at least less than 25% health, which I think is a fair limitation. So granted, it's a little harder for Quina to learn blue magic than it is for Kimahri or Quistis, but for those two characters, their blue magic is locked behind a limit break. And Quina does not have that problem. Their trance, instead of giving access to the blue magic command, simply makes blue magic easier to obtain by allowing them to eat enemies more easily at 50% health instead of 25%. And when it comes to using blue magic, Quina simply has it the best. The command is available from the jump, and even better, while Quina can of course gain the standard offensive and support blue magic, they can also gain something amazing, Limit Glove. This spell only works if Quina is at 1 HP. But if Quina is at 1 HP, it does 9,999 damage to an enemy. This can trivialize certain bosses, and this spell is the reason that I was able to beat Final Fantasy IX, including Ozma, at level 1. Link to that in the yeah, you know. No other blue mage can do this, and other characters require a ton of investment to do this amount of damage. But Quina gets yet another tool that makes them broken, because you might be wondering, how easy is it to get to 1 HP to use this skill? And initially, it requires just a little bit of save scumming. Phoenix Downs revive characters with a random number of HP between 1 and 9, so you can get Quina dead, save, use a Phoenix Down, and then reload until their HP is 1. But eventually, Quina learns the Auto Life skill. When they die, Auto Life will automatically revive them with 1 HP, meaning they're free to spam the low MP cost Limit Glove to their heart's content, obliterating most of the early game in one hit. And if you don't feel like using the Auto auto life spell, you can just equip Quina with the auto life ability. This will just cast the status on them at the beginning of every battle, which will not only set Quina up to use this skill, but also give them an extra chance to use the skill in case they get whacked. So while I don't think that blue mages are the strongest class in Final Fantasy, Quina is definitely the best blue mage among them. And if you want to watch every single one of these comparative videos that I've made, click this playlist right here. Thank you to my channel members, follow me on social media sites linked below, and bye-bye. Bye. Bye.